Unbelievable, Russia is banning Bitcoin mining and it's all going into effect on January 1st, 2025. Already in force in 2025. Also, we're currently seeing a Bitcoin Christmas pump, and it looks like Bitcoin might soon reconnect with the US dollar mark. Here, it's almost up 4% on a daily basis. Unbelievable what's going on here. 3 weeks ago, we saw Putin standing on stage saying that Bitcoin can't be banned. Now we see here the Bitcoin mining ban in Russia, not in all of Russia, but in many regions of Russia. The whole thing has a very fishy taste. We're looking at what's behind this, because it can't be that we're opening up to Bitcoin. Here, Russia opened up to Bitcoin, Russia introduced Bitcoin as property, Putin spoke out in favor of Bitcoin here, and now we see the Bitcoin ban here. I actually didn't plan to put out so many videos today, but then this shocking news came in, and what's happening here is really critical. So are we now witnessing a major retreat from Russia, where suddenly they're not into Bitcoin anymore? Or could this actually be the next step in a strategic Bitcoin reserve, similar to how China banned Bitcoin mining, only for it to later turn out that it wasn't really a ban on Bitcoin mining at all, but rather they just excluded the population from Bitcoin? It could go down like that now, where they exclude the population from Bitcoin but secretly accumulate it themselves. That's at least the theory some people are throwing around, saying, hey, this whole thing is just one big false flag attack. Something similar could happen now. The population could be excluded from Bitcoin, but Bitcoin could be secretly accumulated. That's currently the theory from some folks who are saying, hey, this whole thing is just one big false flag operation. 2001 Russia, they are ultimately totally keen on Bitcoin mining. It also turns out that Russia has been doing a lot more Bitcoin mining in recent years, as one would have expected. We're going to take a look at what this is all about because this topic is really fascinating and super important for the future geopolitical developments of Bitcoin, especially how everything plays out with the US, China, and Russia. And this could be the next strategic move from Vladimir Putin. Just a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, Bitcoin was even being legalized, and they were saying that international payments with Bitcoin were now possible. And this could be the next strategic move from Vladimir Putin. Bitcoin was even being legalized just 3 or 4 weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, when they said, okay, now international payments with Bitcoin are possible here. So it doesn't really make any sense, and it doesn't quite match up with what Vladimir Putin has been saying. But let's take a look at the news here. It says that Russia is banning Bitcoin mining in 10 regions for 6 years, starting from January 1st, 2025, until March 15th. 2025 until the 15th of March, 2001 and 30. While other regions, like Irkutsk and whatever, are now listing a few names that are subject to seasonal restrictions. This news comes from the Russian news agency TAS. So it's not a complete ban on Bitcoin, which means you can still apparently hold Bitcoin. But if you're a Bitcoin miner, you just can't mine Bitcoin anymore. So we can also say that there's a centralization of Bitcoin mining happening here because now mining is only allowed in very specific regions. And even in those regions where Bitcoin mining is permitted, it can't be done all year round, but only during certain times, certain months, and so on. And they're just saying, we don't have enough electricity. So we can, in fact, also confidently say that there's a significant centralization of Bitcoin mining operations happening here because now it's only allowed in only very specific and designated regions due to regulatory constraints. And even in those regions where Bitcoin mining is permitted, it can't be done all year round, but only during certain times of the year, certain months, and so on. And they're just saying, we don't have enough electricity. We'll get into the reasons later about why this is happening, why Bitcoin mining is being banned here. It could also be that these are just made-up reasons to basically exclude the population from Bitcoin mining, as mentioned before. We've seen something similar with China, where they said they had a ban on Bitcoin mining. But what happened? It's still a significant hash rate, I think around 10% or so of the hash rate in China. Some even believe it's a lot more because a lot of the hash rate isn't really connected to the official grid and stuff like that. It is always difficult to allocate this, so where exactly are the Bitcoin miners? And there are also a lot of people who do it off-grid, which makes it really hard to track down where they're actually mining Bitcoin. Here, many are assuming that this could be a false flag operation to secretly accumulate more Bitcoin, meaning that Russia could be looking to build up its Bitcoin stash. They're basically excluding the population from Bitcoin, while on the other hand, there's a centralization happening, giving them more control over the whole Bitcoin mining game and the situation. In another article, it even says here, according to Serge Kalabanov, the deputy director of the Center for the Economy of Fuel and Energy Sectors, that the ban is not only related to local power shortages, but also to the benefits that come from paying for electricity in their own regions. So, as mentioned before, it seems to be about some electricity issues, that the power grid is overloaded. It could also just be an excuse because Bitcoin mining is often associated with excess electricity and stuff like that. I don't know if this is really a valid argument. This goes on further. Even though Russia legalized mining last November, provided that miners register with the Federal Tax Service, these new restrictions highlight the ongoing challenges in managing the energy consumption associated with cryptocurrency mining. So it was like this, you could do Bitcoin mining here since November. Before that, I think it was completely banned. Sorry, not September, but November. Since November, it was allowed again, but you had to register, which meant the state had full control. They knew exactly where the miners were and all that. Now they might have realized, crap, we don't just want them to register. We actually don't want them to mine Bitcoin at all. That might have just been a trial run where they were checking to see if it actually works. After all, either they have now realized that the power grid is now too overloaded, or they have perhaps somehow realized that they need to change something about the Bitcoin strategy because they may want to exclude the population. I have no idea, it's just a guess. It could also be something completely different. It really might be about the power grid. It says here that this decision comes 3 weeks after Russian President Putin stated that no one can ban Bitcoin and pointed out that cryptocurrencies will continue to evolve one way or another. So, in the end, this is the big plot twist. Putin went all out here, he gave that speech or that interview clip where he philosophized about Bitcoin, saying you can't ban it, and now he's banning Bitcoin himself. So it means Putin knows exactly what he's doing, and he also signed this law, that's the official word. I mean, Putin isn't stupid. He wouldn't ban something he knows for sure can't be banned. This means that Putin understands what he is doing here, and Putin has also signed this law. At least that is the official report. And I mean, Putin isn't that dumb to ban something he knows for sure can't be banned. He even said that you can't ban it. So why is he banning it then? So, there must be some kind of behind-the-scenes dealings going on, and there have to be other ideas or considerations for why they're banning Bitcoin here. That doesn't really make any rational sense. What Putin is doing here is basically the exact opposite of what he's saying. Feel free to drop your conspiracy theories in the comments about why Russia is backtracking and banning Bitcoin mining now. You also have to say that there seem to be certain regions where Bitcoin mining is still allowed, but only during specific times. You have to register again, and you probably have to go through a full KYC process. So you could say it is forbidden, and in the regions where it is allowed, it is extremely regulated, extremely monitored, and from that you could probably say that Bitcoin mining is restricted throughout the country. And the exciting thing is that you can't ban Bitcoin. That's always been the story. You can only exclude yourself from the Bitcoin network. So what Putin is doing here is excluding himself from the Bitcoin network, unless he's signaling the US, hey, we're not into Bitcoin. Because Trump has already said we need to be careful about China, and he hasn't said much about Russia yet. But he did mention that there are opponents accumulating Bitcoin. And if Russia sends a signal to the outside world like China did, China signaled, hey, we don't want Bitcoin banning mining, then that's the signal to the US saying, yeah, go ahead and buy your Bitcoin. We have no reason to buy Bitcoin ourselves. This could be a false flag to secretly accumulate Bitcoin. If Russia signals like China did, banning Bitcoin mining, it could be a strategy to accumulate Bitcoin. If the US legalizes Bitcoin, Russia might reveal they've been mining it. They might then encourage mining and buying. By Bitcoin, we have no excuses not to buy it. If the US makes Bitcoin legal tender, Russia might lift the mining ban and reveal they've been mining for years. This is an exaggerated theory, but it's a thought on the real intention. And then, if at some point the US says, okay, hey, we're making Bitcoin legal tender, Russia could come in with a plot twist and say, hey, sorry bro, we're lifting the Bitcoin mining ban after all, and by the way, we just realized we've been mining Bitcoin for the last 3 years. Our political stance has changed, and now we see that Bitcoin is actually beneficial, so we're allowing it again. Then they could tell their people, yeah, go mine Bitcoin, go all out, buy Bitcoin. I have to admit, this is a bit of an exaggerated theory, and I'm kind of spinning it out there, but it's just a thought about what the real intention could be. Because, as mentioned, what's happening right now doesn't really make sense. In 2021, I mean, the Bitcoin price hasn't reacted negatively to this at all, so it looks like the market isn't really bothered by it. Another theory could be that this article is maybe fake and that fake news or something like that is being spread to unsettle the market. In 2021, I mean, the Bitcoin price hasn't reacted negatively to this at all, so it looks like the market isn't really bothered by it. Another theory could be that this article is maybe fake and that fake news or something like that is being spread to unsettle the market. It definitely looks like the Bitcoin price could shoot up massively again around Christmas. Another theory could be that this article is maybe fake and that fake news or something like that is being spread to unsettle the market. It definitely looks like the Bitcoin price could shoot up massively again around Christmas. We're currently up 3.3% on the day, which is really bullish and suggests that we might actually see a year-end rally or something like that. Please let me know in the comments below what your current market sentiment is, because many have already assumed that the bear market is coming again, that we are now heading towards the US dollar again, and many were also concerned because of the liquidity and/or the dollar has gotten stronger, and when the dollar gets stronger, Bitcoin often has a hard time. A lot of people are thinking that if this dollar strength continues, it could really be tough for Bitcoin. Yes, that's true. As the dollar gets stronger, it's getting more difficult for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is always dependent on global liquidity. And there are now so many charts that are being shown, even if global liquidity goes down by, 5%, then Bitcoin will collapse by US dollars, or if global liquidity goes down by 2%, then Bitcoin will collapse by dollars, and then there have been projections that according to the current liquidity maps here and here, with the strength of the US dollar, Bitcoin could potentially drop significantly, and I just want to point out that these kinds of charts can sometimes be misleading. There is a correlation, meaning a strong dollar usually leads to a weak Bitcoin, and a weak dollar tends to mean a strong Bitcoin. That correlation exists, but you can't draw conclusions like the dollar is strong, Bitcoin must drop, or the dollar is now 3% stronger, so Bitcoin has to crash by $1,000, etc. You can't make such precise calculations. It's interesting, but it's guesswork. Sometimes the dollar is strong, Bitcoin drops a little, or the dollar is weak, Bitcoin rises slightly. Exact deductions on dollar strength are impossible. Only rough statements can be made, like, you can't make such precise calculations here, and some people are doing that, sharing these charts. It's interesting to look at, but in the end, it's all just guesswork because there have been plenty of scenarios where the dollar got really strong, but Bitcoin only dropped a little, and there were also times when the dollar was really weak, but Bitcoin only went up slightly. So you can't really make exact deductions based on dollar strength. You can only make very rough statements like, for example, strong dollar, weak dollar, strong Bitcoin. So you can't really make any precise deductions based on the strength of the dollar. You can only make some rough statements like, for example, strong dollar, weak dollar, strong Bitcoin. You might be able to do that, but that's about it. And if you want to buy Bitcoin now, I'll drop a link to Bitcoin down below. Super easy, super straightforward, recommended for beginners and advanced users alike. Just sign up, send some money, buy Bitcoin. It's that simple. And then it's best to manage everything securely on your own hardware wallet. Absolutely recommend it. Here, you can also get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin with the code BitcoinHotel. And I'm going for a hike here at Christmas. It's really awesome at 30 degrees. I've always wanted to experience this. I've never been at 30 degrees on Christmas. I only had 20 degrees once in southern France. Now at 30 degrees, super awesome. Let me know what you're doing for Christmas, whether you're chilling with your family or what you've got planned. I'm definitely going for a hike now. See you later, peace out, 1000.